Sentinelese. Have you ever heard of the Sentinelese, also known as the Sentinelese, and the North Sentinel Islanders? They live on the North Sentinel Island in the Bay of Bengal. These folk are one of the most isolated tribes in the world, part of the broader Andamanese people. But they take isolation to a whole new level. Unlike other indigenous groups in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the Sentinelese have always said a firm no thanks to contact with the outside world. No outsider has learned or documented their language. The Sentinelese are believed to be hunter-gatherers, making the most of the island's resources by fishing, hunting, and gathering wild plants and fruits. The Indian government has stepped in to keep it that way, designating North Sentinel Island as a protected area and making it illegal to get too close. This protection is important to ensure their isolation and to protect them from diseases they have no immunity to. Genetic studies suggest that the Sentinelese are directly descended from some of the earliest human populations to inhabit the region. They're also famously hostile to outsiders and have even killed people who tried to approach or land on their island. So, when it comes to staying away, it's best to respect their wishes and keep your distance. Masco Piro. Next stop is the Masco Piro, also known as the Cujareño or Namole, a fascinating group of indigenous people living deep in the remote Amazon rainforest, particularly in Manu National Park in Peru. These nomadic hunters have a long history of avoiding contact with outsiders, preferring to keep their way of life private. Back in 1998, people estimated there were between 100 and 250 Masco Piro, a jump from the 20 to 100 estimated in 1976. They speak a dialect of the Piro language and have mastered the art of keeping their territory safe using strategic isolation and their impressive skills with bow and arrows. You certainly don't want to mess with these people. The Masco Piro's cultural practices are rich with elaborate rituals central to their social structure. There's feasting, dancing, and gift exchanges between families. When it comes to initiation rites, they go all out with endurance tests and learning traditional skills, marking the important journey from childhood to adulthood. Their festivals and communal feasts are all about celebrating the agricultural and hunting cycles, strengthening community ties. And let's not forget the amazing carved masks and ceremonial clothing used in their rituals, connecting them deeply to their ancestors in the natural world. Oh, and here's a fun fact. They prefer to call themselves Namole, rejecting the derogatory term Masco, which means savages. This proud community keeps thriving and maintaining their unique identity right in the heart of the Amazon. Fascinating, right? Kawahiva. Let's talk about the Kawahiva. They are an uncontacted indigenous tribe living in the Rio Parado area of Mato Grosso, Brazil. They were formerly called the Rio Parado Indians. Because of threats from outsiders, they are constantly moving and have little contact with other indigenous groups or non-indigenous people. Most of what is known about them comes from the things they leave behind, like arrows, baskets, hammocks, and sleeping mats. They live in communal shelters and use a basic spinning wheel to make string and nets from tree bark. Other tribes call them Baksinhos, tiny people, or Cabachas Vermelhas, redheads. The Kawahiva hunt and gather their food, using temporary camps and not staying in one place for long. The Kawahiva likely keep pets as small cages for parakeets and feathers have been found among their belongings. They also build complex ladders to climb trees, gather honey from bees' nests, and use traps to catch fish in nearby streams. It is thought that loggers, ranchers, land speculators, and miners have deliberately tried to force them to keep moving. Maybe it's high time we let these people be. Asaro Mudmen. Next time someone talks about mud, remember the Asaro Mudmen. These mudmen are from the Asaro tribe in Papua New Guinea, also known as the Holosa. They're legendary for their incredible mud masks that make them look like something straight out of a ghost story. They live near Goroka in the East Highland province of Papua New Guinea, and their traditional costumes are a real sight to see. The Mudmen are famous for these eerie masks made from a combination of clay, ash, and other materials. These masks are perfect for intimidating and impressing others. The Mudmen don these masks during elaborate ceremonies and dances that are central to the cultural rituals and beliefs. Watching the Asaro Mudmen perform their dramatic dances while wearing their distinctive mud masks is an unforgettable experience. These dances aren't just for show, they're deeply ritualistic and meant to invoke ancestral spirits. For the Asaro Mudmen, agriculture is a big deal, with meat being a rare treat. They save it for special occasions like weddings and major feasts, where pigs are used to showcase the clan's wealth. Historically, the Mudmen were known for their hostility toward outsiders, using their intimidating appearance and aggressive tactics to protect their territory and cultural practices. So, if you ever find yourself in Papua New Guinea, keep an eye out for the Asado Mudmen, Awa tribe. Ready to meet one of the most fascinating tribes in the Amazon rainforest? Then let's talk about the Awa tribe, an indigenous group from Brazil. There are about 350 Awa members, and get this, 100 of them live completely off-grid with zero contact with outsiders. They speak Guaja, which is part of the Tupi-Guarani language family. The Awa used to live in fixed settlements but decided to go nomadic around 1800 to steer clear from European settlers. These guys have a bond with the rainforest that's truly something special. They know the ecosystem like the back of their hand and eat animals only at specific times to keep nature in balance. They avoid certain animals, like bats, because they believe bats can cause headaches. And when it comes to pets, the Awa are pros. Monkeys are their absolute favorite, often treated like family members. Some monkeys even get breastfed as babies and are never eaten, just loved and cherished, known as hanima. But it's not all smooth sailing for the Awa. They face serious threats from logging companies encroaching on their lands, putting their way of life at risk. So, the Awa tribe are not just surviving, they're thriving, all while treating monkeys like family and dodging the dangers of modern encroachment. Ario. Let's get into the world of the Ario people, who have more names than you could possibly remember. They're also called the Aori, Aoriod, Guaranoka, Koroino, Moro, and the list goes on. In their language, Eroyo means true people, and Eroyod translates to human beings. They speak the Arroyo language, part of the Zamocoan language family, and can be found in Paraguay and Bolivia. The Arroyo Totobagasod live in small, close-knit communities where they grow squashes, beans, and melons in the sandy soil and hunt in the forest. They're all about that wild honey, large tortoises, and wild pigs. Family is important to them, and in the forest, 4 or 5 families share a communal house. This house is a dome-shaped structure made of smaller branches, topped with a layer of dried mud, all supported by a central wooden pillar. One of the most significant Aoreo rituals is named after the asana, or nightjar bird. When the bird calls, it marks the start of a rainy season, kicking off a month filled with celebrations and festivities. But the Aoreo have been fighting hard to secure and protect their land from deforestation and commercial exploitation, standing up for their rights and sovereignty. Jarawa. If you have ever heard of the Jarawas tribe, then you know it is a tribe also known as Aong, an indigenous group from the Andaman Islands in India. The tribe has a population estimated between 250 and 400 people. The Jarawas hunt wild pigs, monitor lizards, and other game using bow and arrows. Recently, they've started keeping dogs to help with hunting. Living on islands, they also rely heavily on ocean food sources. The men fish in shallow waters with bow and arrows, while the women use baskets to catch the fish. Their diet is pretty diverse, including mollusks, dugongs, turtles, fruits, tubers, and honey from the forest. And for honey collection, they use a clever plant extract to calm the bees. When it comes to food preparation, the Jarawas mainly roast, bake, or boil their meals, but they're also fine with eating some things raw. Thanks to their balanced use of both land and sea resources, they switch up their diet based on what's available. One of the coolest things about the Jarawas is their distinctive body adornments. They rock elaborate headdresses and body paint made from natural pigments, especially during ceremonial dances and rituals. And let's not forget their traditional wooden boats called catamarans, used for fishing and traveling between islands. These boats, crafted from logs, are known for their stability and ability to handle the rough waters of the Andaman Sea. The Jarawas generally avoid contact with outsiders, so there's still a lot we don't know about their society, culture, and traditions. But what we do know is absolutely fascinating. Yanomami. Now, this next tribe might be a little mind-blowing. Meet the Yanomami, also known as the Yanomamo or the Yanomama. About 35,000 indigenous people living in 200 to 250 villages in the Amazon rainforest along the Venezuela-Brazil border. The Yanomami are absolute professionals when it comes to hunting, fishing, and horticulture. The women are busy cultivating plantains and cassava, while the men clear forests to make gardens. They even eat grubs, which they get by cutting down palm trees. Their diet is super low in salt, which means they have impressively low blood pressure. Rituals are at the heart of their culture. They throw massive feasts to celebrate good harvests, inviting neighboring villages. During these celebrations, they deck themselves out with feathers and flowers and party all night long with dancing and singing. Yanomami shamans take it to another level by using hallucinogens like yakoana and yopo in their healing rituals to chat with spirits. One of the most unique aspects of the Yanomami culture is their practice of ritual endocannibalism. They honor and remember their deceased relatives by consuming their ashes mixed into banana soup. It's a sacred tradition that's all about remembrance and respect. Korowai people. Who are the Korowai tribe? Also known as the Kolufo, they live in southeastern Papua Indonesia, across the provinces of South Papua and Highland Papua. Their territory spans Boven Digel, Mapi, Asmat, and Yahoo Kimo regencies, with a population of around 4,000 to 4,400 people. Most Korowai clans live in tree houses deep within the remote forested regions. Why up in the trees, you ask? The Korowai believe that evil spirits lurk on the ground, so they build their homes high up in the trees to steer clear of them. These tree houses, rebuilt every 3 to 5 years, are a central part of their lives. Building a new one takes about 3 days and is done by the men. They even include wooden barriers to keep children safe and long ladders for access. The Korowai are hunters and gatherers and horticulturists, using shifting cultivation and showcasing impressive skills in hunting and fishing. They measure time based on the lifespan of their tree houses. Some activities, like sago preparation and certain religious ceremonies, are exclusive to adult males. Leadership among the Korowai isn't about formal titles, it's all about personal qualities and influence. Conflicts between clans often spark from disputes related to witchcraft and sorcery. The Korowai are pretty cautious and suspicious of outsiders. They often view strangers as potential threats to their way of life and are wary of their intentions. Yaifo tribe. Lastly, the Yaifo tribe from the highlands of East Sepik province in Papua New Guinea are known for their subsistence agriculture, hunting, and gathering. They grow crops like taro, sweet potatoes, and bananas and rely heavily on hunting and fishing for their protein fix. Their agricultural practices are deeply tied to their cultural traditions, and they've got some pretty sophisticated techniques for managing their crops and environment. The Yaifo live in small dispersed villages made up of a few extended families. Their houses are built on raised platforms to keep them safe from flooding and pests, using locally sourced materials like wood, bamboo, and palm leaves. The Yaifo have a complex social organization with a big emphasis on communal living and shared responsibilities. Leadership is usually based on age and experience, with elders playing a great role in decision-making and keeping cultural practices alive. Rituals and ceremonies are a huge part of their life, marking key events like harvests, initiations, and funerals. These celebrations often feature fascinating dances, music, and traditional body paint and costumes. And here's a spine-chilling fact. The Yaifo are reportedly feared for practicing headhunting, preserving the heads of defeated enemies or intruders as trophies. Which of these mysterious, isolated tribes captivated your attention the most? Dive into the comment section and let us know your thoughts. For more fascinating content, hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell. You won't want to miss a single story. See you in the next video.